Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater, and we have something really cool for you to check out today. This is my friend Jeff Slingluff. Great to see you, man.
Nice to see you, Mitch.
Boss.
Yes, right. How you been?
Guitar. I've been great, but I'm jumping right past that, getting right to what
Yes.
you got here, man.
I know it's like all of a sudden, Boss has a guitar, right?
Yeah, man.
Slip away and we all hide out for a year and a half, and look what we did.
Turn your head for 1 second.
Yeah, well, it's like most people don't realize, this whole synth guitar Boss thing. Boss made their first guitar, in 1977, which was the GR 500, which was under the Roland brand, which is the first synth guitar. And there have been things like the GR 300, GR 700. Even like 2 years ago, we had an exclusive here at Sweetwater, which was the Stromberg guitar, which was pretty awesome.
Right.
So now we have a new guitar that we're really excited about, right? Which is the Eurus, right? Mm-hmm. And what it is, it's first off starts with just a phenomenal guitar and guitar body and shape and neck, right? It's when you do this kind of thing, you can't live just on sounding good. You have to be able to pick it up off the couch and love the guitar acoustically.
Right.
And so we started there, right, with a phenomenal guitar in a collaboration with Dyna in Japan. So it's a Japanese-made guitar, right? Really excited about it. It's 24 fret. It's a compound radius, so it starts off at 12, goes down to 16. Medium jumbo frets. The pickups are Eurus branded pickups, which were custom from us. They're basically an Alnico 5, right? Putting out like a 7.9 kind of K out of the humbucker. So very classic style guitar pickup that you would really like. And as a guitar, it's got Goto hardware, front and back locking tuners, just a really nice shaped neck, and just a beautiful guitar. And we're going to talk about electronics in a second here, but one of the things I was really excited about is it's got some electronics in there, and you kind of expect, oh, it's going to be heavy, and it's like 7.5 pounds. It's like perfectly balanced and weighted. I'm like yes, right? We totally nailed it. And then so it starts off with a 5-position switch, so you can go through, humbucker. Humbucker turns into 2 parallel pickups for 2 single coils. In the middle position, it's both humbuckers. In the 4th position, it's going to be a single coil off the neck. And then the 5th position, it's just a regular neck humbucker.
Okay.
So a great selection of things, typical volume, tone as you go here. But you have these extra controls. And that's where it starts to kind of break out into doing something else that you heard at the beginning of this conversation, which is that when you get into that, it has synth sounds that are built in it, which are part of the SY family. Okay. You guys had the SY-1000, which we came out with about a year and a half ago, which does just phenomenal synth sounds and things like that. And then, if you remember a few years back, we had made the SY-300.
Yep.
And then before that, we had made the SY-1.
Right.
Not before that, but recently we came out with the SY-1. This is an engine built off that technology, so it's not using a divided pickup. It's actually a monophonic, taking it right off the pickups directly into the synth sound, and then you can switch over here and have just direct synth sounds going on for days.
Nice.
Right? It's got 6 presets built into it, and it has a knob here, which can be a controller for filter sweeps and things like that. So if I choose Right, so you've got filter controls that you can put onto this, and they're signable via an app. Right, there's 6 sounds inside of it as a default, but using your phone, you can go ahead and get inside. And there are 8 different categories of sounds. So you've got lead sounds, organ sounds, bass sounds, all kinds of classic sounds, and then each of those categories has 10 to 20 different variations in it that are built, and you can assign those variations to have different depth and control assigned to the guitar pickup, to the knob, which is really cool. But additionally to that, we've just announced a product called the EV1WL, which is the expression pedal that you see down below me. That is a Bluetooth pedal. This guitar has Bluetooth in it for talking to my phone via editor, but it also talks to the expression pedal via Bluetooth. So now all my controls can be put on there. And the pedal itself, it works in several different functions. I'll mention it just in the guitar section for just a second, which is that via Bluetooth, you've got both your normal expression pedal things. It's got a toe down position. It can go into a secondary mode from that, and then it has a TRS 1/4-inch cable on the side of it, so you can put in jacks and assign different things to that. So you can do like 5 things controlling it from there, whether it's a filter here or like So you can assign it to your filters. I can have hold functions. And
Got
now
it.
I basically can, and I can play right over top of it, changing chords as I go through it. So there's a hold function on it. There's pitch functions. There's all kinds of fun stuff that you can do.
Wow. So you just went through a ton of stuff there. Let's break it down and look at kind of the individual components, if you will.
Okay.
So how about if we start with just the guitar? Let's hear the 5 different pickup sounds.
Okay.
We're playing through a Next Tone Special. Actually, it's my personal Next Tone Special,
Yes,
which
I
I
love
love
that.
that amp. And let's just hear what the guitar sounds like, and then we'll listen to some of the synth sounds and talk about some of the control functions.
That's a great idea, right? So the guitar itself, right? Like if we're just using a classic sound, something like this, like let's put it on this position and do like.
So that's the neck in a single coil
That's
position,
the next
right?
in the single coil position. So we're right there.
Okay, sounds great.
If I do like just the front, let's just do like a.
Nice.
Kind of classic. This, if I had a little more gain, but we'll just keep using the same sound so everybody knows it. It's like classic parallel, kind of. Just need a little fuzz to go with that, and you got the tone. 2, just your classic. Just classic, solid guitar.
Right.
I really like the pickup sound because, it's an Alnico 5 pickup, and traditionally I like the compression on an Alnico 5 pickup, but often Alnico 5s can sometimes sound a little bit too spread out and sparkly and depthy. They get a little bit of a scoop to them.
Scoop drum, right.
Which like on a classic like 59 Les Paul, sometimes we talk about them being like an Alnico 3 kind of vibe is more the preferred at times. It has a nice even distribution on it. I don't feel like it's overextended on it, so it sits really nicely with a good clean sound, a good crunch sound, but also like if you want to get a little bit gainy, it sits nice and doesn't get harsh and weird. Just a beautiful pickup.
Yeah. It sounds, obviously a very versatile instrument with the 5 selections, and you can cover everything from humbucker to single coil to everything in between. So yeah, you got all the bases kind of covered just as a guitar, which is very cool.
As a guitar. And as I said, that's the most important thing. It's got to come off, as a guitar first. It's, I want an instrument that is an instrument that I can sit on the couch and play, for 5 minutes before I walk out the door without having to plug it in or do anything like that.
Right.
And it does fit that bill. It's, a nice neck. The neck is a great taper. The trem is great. You've got these tapered tuners on it that are locking tuners.
Right.
So it's fundamentally just sits really well as a guitar.
Perfect.
Right. Which is
That's awesome. That's awesome. So then we have this platform that you're now adding the SY Brain to, and giving us, you said 6 sounds on board, but you can have as many sounds as you want, basically.
Yes, right. So you have 6 memory slots, which, because they can be attached to the external pedal and things like that, they can have lots of things going on and have a wide variety of tone within those individual sounds, but there's 6 core oscillators, basically.
Okay.
So, from square wave, sine wave, to rotary, to all kinds of fun things.
So why don't we, let's turn the amp off.
Yes.
Let's just hear the synthesizer, and you've got that routed. How is the signal being fed?
So what we're doing right now, one of the things you can do with this is it does have 2 output jacks. You can play the synth through the same amp as you typically would use, through one jack, or vice versa. But for our purposes today, what I'm doing is I'm taking 1 1/4-inch cable out to the amp, which will turn off, and then the other 1/4-inch cable I'm taking out to a GTQ 1000 core, right? So that we can just get it to the direct signal as we're going. So we'll have a nice little reverb on it.
Right, so we're monitoring on full range monitors here, and then it's feeding straight into our cameras for capture.
Exactly. There is a mode in the application, so I can set it so that it is friendly to amplifiers more than it is to a PA system, where it kind of filters it out a little bit, so it'll work nicely. But I tend to, on some of the sound, depending on the synth sound, I want the full range option, right? So it's kind of a preference thing for today.
Great. Perfect. So you have the flexibility there too.
Yeah, so let's do this. I'll run through the 6 core sounds here.
Okay.
And I'll move the knob on the guitar, and then I'll add in some things with the foot switch as we go. So if I'm going to start off in first position. And then, of course, I can do the expression pedal, which can do the same thing as this if I do it toe down. So.
Right. Now, one thing I want to point out here is that there's the question that's going to jump into everybody's mind is the tracking. How does it follow along they're playing? Is there a delay? Is there anything like that? And because we're not converting to MIDI,
no,
we're avoiding all that.
Exactly. There's no MIDI conversion on it. It's direct one-to-one relationship on it. And what you get in this is a lot of different things, like number one. So it's going to play as fast as you can play, and hopefully better than me, right? And 2, it does, you don't, like some of the classic MIDI, audio to MIDI, you get the da-da-da-da as it moves the notes. This you can do vibrato, slides. You can actually use the trem bar without it.
Right.
So yeah, it's fully friendly to you as a player. And that's one of the things that really is interesting about the SY technology is that it follows the guitar dynamics, so the dynamics that you as a guitar player have. And so you can play soft, hard, or whatever, and it follows the sustain and natural attack that you are doing as a guitar player.
Right.
At the beginning of this, I opened up with a really aggressive sound, which is just basically that one of the synth sounds run through a fuzz pedal, right? So you can make it fuzzy and aggressive, or you can kind of soften it up and just play to your natural sensibilities, which is great.
Right.
Right. So let's go to the next sound, which is. I believe this is out of the bell category. And again, I have pitch. And then I'm going to put this knob on there. So that's fun. And then we get into something which is a more aggressive synth sound that I had earlier, You feel that, like, even in the room through these tiny monitors, it's got so much sub going on there. So just a lot of fun there. And then the next sound is, classic, 80s analog, the organ is just awesome. And then if we continue, we got like. So that's a really great kind of sound that you would layer underneath like a semi-distorted tone, right? So you. and one of the things that's really interesting is that today in a lot of high production, modern, like especially rock and metal, yeah, if you listen closely, you'll hear that they've doubled the guitar part with a synth. So now you can do your own layering for that same studio sound live underneath it. Right?
Nice.
Right, which is kind of fun.
Right.
And then, you know, if you take all these, as I was doing earlier, you know, you put like with a swell. The swell is coming from there in this particular case. Right?
Okay.
There are sounds in the app as far as like sequencer sounds and stuff like that, but I'm just going to take that same sound you were just hearing and add a little. You know, and for me, like at that beginning sound I was doing, I did something which was really aggressive, where I could just have a bunch of, you know, just a fuzz pedal really high. This sound is based off of a cello-ish type sound. It's actually called cello in the sound set. And, you know, if you get into what's also fun is if you're running it like I am right now, is that you can switch to guitar. So which we got the amp off, but you get so there's lots of possibilities there.
Yeah,
right?
no doubt.
So that's just some basic kind of things. As I said, there are some sync sounds inside of it, as far as like, you know, some sequencer type things. But right, you know, here's I'm using one from the pedal. And since there's a hold function, I can
It'll just keep going.
just walk away.
Yeah.
Always a great way to end a show. So the sound man has no idea what's going on. Right? You know, we've all left our guitar feeding back on stage. You know, how to make everybody hate us as for that.
Yeah,
Would you like to try out some of these sounds?
Yeah. Well, a couple more questions before you do that.
Yeah.
So how do you power it? And how long is it, I'm assuming there's a battery?
Yeah.
That's going
Like,
on
if I flip it over here real quick, what you can see is that here's the battery compartment for where it goes in. You can power it via the side jack here, right? Which, you know, that's an option, but probably not going to do it very often. There's a USB jack here for doing updates or anything like that. It's operating on AA batteries. It's using 4 AA batteries on it, and you get about 9 hours of continuous usage.
Yeah.
And by that I mean not 9 hours of on, but 9 hours of asking for voltage because you're playing and doing stuff. So you'll probably get significantly more than that, you know, in normal day-to-day usage.
Right.
And then on the output here, there are two jacks, right?
Okay.
And you can either do, you know, a dry signal through the synth jack, right, if you want, or you can do, you know, switch back and forth between the synth on the regular 1/4-inch guitar jack. So I'm going back between the guitar and stuff like that. Just because of the way I had set up my presets here, I decided to go to both an amp behind us and to the GT1000 in front of us, which is just a really fun way to do it because I can get the Full range for the synth sounds and then have more classic, you know, gnarly guitar tone behind me.
Right.
So that worked out really great to do it that way. And as I said, it lasts about 9 hours. And then the EVWL, the EV1WL expression pedal, with it runs on AA batteries, and it's completely wireless Bluetooth, and it can operate for about the same amount of time, about 8-10 hours.
Nice.
And it's really unique, but it's a whole other can of worms because not only does it work for the guitar via Bluetooth, but it can actually work via USB for your computer. It can also work for standard MIDI or Bluetooth with anything that will talk Bluetooth.
Oh,
so
nice.
That's a whole other can of worms.
So that is optional. That doesn't come with the guitar.
Not.
Okay. Nice.
Right.
So before I get my hands on it, which I'm really excited about, let's talk a little bit about the app and what that gives you in conjunction with the guitar.
Oh, okay. Well, so, you know, I'm using it on an iOS phone, just an Apple device. And what you have from this is, you know, simply you have your categories once you're all set up. So I can go from, you know, lead and choose different sound sets. And I've got my different categories. So from it, there's 8 different categories. Let's go. And I've got a little bit of a wide reverb on there, but it's fun regardless. And from it, I can do adjustments of the basic sound, like the resonance, the tone. I can adjust the synth level itself. I can also bring in the guitar level as a part of the dry signal into that if I want. And you can hear my fancy delay on there. And I can adjust all those things. But if I go to this section of control functions, this is where I can control what the pedal is doing or what the knob is doing. So this knob can be doing multiple, which is, when we did the sound design for it, we've set up a multi, which is doing several things at once because that one's fun. But if I just wanted to give me, only, depth, then that'll kick in and be the function. So the main thing is that, and then in addition to that, you have a librarian where you can go and save all your patches, your presets, and everything like that. And of course, synth system functions like adjusting the guitar and things like that, right? And there's a similar app for the pedal itself, which is will allow you to do things like change its curve.
For the expression pedal.
Yeah, for the expression pedal. But that's another product.
Okay, so you have it on an iOS device. It's also compatible with Android?
Yes, it is.
So you're covering both platforms there. And once you select a preset, then say you go to the lead category, you choose the lead sound you want, is that then residing on one of the 6 positions here? Or
you
how
have
does
to
that
hit save, and then it'll save.
Then it's locked in there, and
exactly.
you don't have to have your phone to use it on stage. You can just have
your 6 presets. Exactly. You pick up your favorite 6 that you're going to have in real time for you, which is really fundamentally a lot, right? When it comes down to it, you find that good sound that's going to go with your amp tone, and then you need a couple wacky fun things, and you're all over it, And of course, for me, I need that Leslie once in a while, underneath stuff,
Right.
An old Jimmy Page fan. It's going to happen.
Right. Right. Well, that's awesome. Well, my turn. Just plays right along. I mean, you'd think you were playing a guitar.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I feel like I'm playing a guitar, but that's not what I'm hearing.
It's really cool. That's crazy.
It's the tracking on it is super fast, right? And once in a while you can fool it with the super complex chord, but for the most part it's always there and just picks the right notes.
It's not so much that the way it tracks you as you having to play the sound that it has in it is an interesting thing.
Yeah, you kind of change your hand language a little bit to match the sound.
Right.
Which we do as guitar players when we go back and forth from clean and distorted anyways, but now it's like a bigger palette for your hand to enjoy as well.
Yeah. That is too fun. That is too fun.
Yeah, being able to kick into that organ alone to me
Yeah.
is like, you know, think of how many guitar players used to travel with like a Leslie cabinet. It's like, no, just hit a button. That's so cool to hear you play that.
Very cool, very cool.
You know, because it's one thing to sit here and hear somebody play it, and then be
Right.
like, and it's another when you feel it under your hand. You kind of, you know, you have a different perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And of course, you've got those $1 million chords, so
Wow,
that helps
you know,
out a lot.
I don't know about that, but it's fun to hear them with the sounds. And like I say, you kind of do adjust your playing. Again, not so much for tracking purposes at all, but more for the sake of the sound, because the synth sounds have different envelopes to them.
Yes.
Some have a slower attack, some have a faster attack, and with the different harmonics and things that are in there and the filtering and stuff, it changes the way you play. Oop, drop my pick. I'll play fingerstyle. It changes the way you play in a good way because you're reacting to the sound.
Yes, and the thing is
Thanks.
because it is instant, you can react to that sound. It's not
Right.
like a static, non-instrumental sound that's just happening in some space. It's like, no, I'm involved with this sound.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So it's a familiar instrument. It's a guitar, but it's also a new vista
Vista.
for
Wow.
guitarists. How about that?
Some have a dictionary.
It opens up new vistas. We'll say it
Yeah.
that way. Jeff, thanks so much for coming in and sharing this with us, man. It's a huge step forward for the world of synth guitar because you don't have to adapt to it.
Yes.
You play the sounds and you play it as a guitar and it tracks everything you do and it's right there with you. And all the different techniques you use, you can still use.
Yes.
And everything that you do is translated right there.
Yeah, it's like Roland's been really, you know, BOSS has been doing, you know, guitar synth in various varieties for, you know, almost 40 years now. And, you know, some of them have been more of the, you know, the multiple pickups so we can get each string and deal with, you know, the audio to MIDI. But this just plays as an instrument. You don't need an external box.
Right.
You know, you just plug it in your amp and you got synth, you got guitar, you got both at the same time. Have a good time.
Very cool. Super cool. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
And thanks for coming on out and showing this to us. Good to see you.
It's great to see you again.
Always a pleasure. Right. Take care and thanks again. And thank you for joining me today. Jeff Slingluff from BOSS EURUS. Man, incredible. You got to check this thing out. I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater.